From LEGO's Power Functions IR Speed remote getting way too hot, to one of LEGO's staff completely goofing up in their factory, here are some of LEGO's worst mistakes. We start off with a Ninjago City set from the LEGO Ninjago movie. I noticed that they were a bit lazy in getting rid of some of the early markings on the boxes. You know, those rough outlines of the minifigures' names they sometimes have at the bottom. Yeah, those markings were still hanging around. They forgot to remove Kai's name from the box. If you check it out, it literally says Kai in black letters right on top of his minifigure. They must have missed removing that text, probably because they were in a rush or just didn't pay enough attention. Let's face it though, hardly anyone notices unless you're really looking closely. Still, it's kinda cool to spot these little things. And guess what? It's not just on the physical boxes. It's even there on the box images online. So if you're into LEGO ideas, you might have heard about this next mistake. The LEGO Flintstones set was supposed to be the 24th LEGO Ideas set, and it still holds that title. But here's where it gets interesting. The next set that came out after that was Steamboat Willie, and guess what? It was also labeled as number 24. That's pretty weird, isn't it? LEGO did not bother changing the number for this set. They kept selling it with the number 24 on it for quite a while before finally fixing it. It actually took consumers pointing out the mistake to LEGO. Even on their official website, you could buy the set with the wrong number on it. Eventually, LEGO acknowledged the error and said they would fix it for future sets. Now there are Steamboat Willie sets out there with both numbers 24 and 25. So, if you're a completionist trying to collect all the sets, does that mean you need to grab both versions? Or no? Let me know what you think in the comments below. Let's move on to the LEGO catalogs, because they're always a mixed bag of surprises. Take this LEGO City page, for example. They accidentally featured the same set twice, with different names, but the exact same picture. Looks like someone forgot to swap out the image. At least they got the names and prices right though. Then there's this classic blunder in an old catalog where they mixed up Minecraft characters, labeling the villager as a zombie and vice versa. And they've also got the mix-up with Frodo and Gandalf in one of the Lord of the Rings sets. Next, let's talk about a big mistake in the Batman movie collectible minifigures line. Inside each blind bag, you usually get this little checklist or pamphlet showing all of the characters. Well, one character, Catman, got a bit misrepresented. On the brick-built version of him, his legs are yellow on top and brown on the bottom, but on the checklist for number 16, it's the other way around. Brown on top, yellow on the bottom. Someone didn't quite match up the colors right. It's a pretty noticeable difference that slipped through the cracks before they mass-produced them and stuffed them all into those foil bags. If you're a fan of the LEGO Star Wars Rogue One sets, you gotta check this out. A rogue error was discovered on Krennic's Imperial Shuttle set 75156. On the front of the box, K2SO is shown without a blaster, but on the back, the battle scene depicts K2SO with a blaster, along with two Death Troopers with medium blasters. This caused some confusion as the set does not include a blaster for K2SO. The parts list in the instruction manual was checked, confirming that only two medium blasters for the Death Troopers are included. This indicates that the battle scene on the box is incorrect, likely reflecting an earlier design where K2SO had a blaster, which was later changed. Although K2SO does not come with a blaster, this should clarify any concerns about a missing blaster. It's simply a box printing error. Next up is the Smooth Hair Leia minifigure. It's a rare and super cool version that showed up in early 2009 LEGO Star Wars sets and some 2006 X-Wing sets. Instead of having the usual detailed bumpy hair, this Princess Leia has smooth hair. This happened because the wrong mold was used on the assembly line. Now, these minifigures are considered collectibles and can sell for about $200 each on sites like eBay and Bricklink. Collectors love them because they're rare and have an interesting story about how they were made by mistake. Next in line is the LEGO Ideas WallE set that came out in 2015. It had this big problem where the head would just keep swiveling too much, making the whole thing wobbly and not fun to play with. Because of this mess, they had to recall it in North America and push back the release in Europe, which was supposed to happen on September 1st, 2015. LEGO finally admitted they goofed up about 2 months after the first release. They tried to fix it by sending out new instructions and parts to make the head work better by December 2015. Those who snagged the set before the fix got hooked up with these new parts, so their WallE wouldn't be all wonky anymore. So, in the beginning, the LEGO Back to the Future Time Machine set had a bit of a hiccup. They printed SHIELD as SHIELD, with the E before I on the flux capacitor panel in the first batches. Not exactly matching the movie there. When they caught the mistake, the Lego Kuso team stepped up and apologized. They even offered to swap out the wrong pieces for anyone who wanted the correct version. Pretty cool move by Lego, wouldn't you say? It meant that fans and collectors could get a more spot-on version of the iconic time-traveling machine from the movies. Okay, so let's talk about the Lego AntMan set from back in 2015. There was this big issue with the legs of the main build. They just couldn't handle too much weight and would give out, which is a total bummer. This problem messed with how sturdy and fun the set was supposed to be. Originally, it was supposed to hit the shelves on June 1st, 2015, but a lot of stores had to pull it off pretty quickly. They came back with the fix later in June, adding 6 more Technic axles to beef up the legs and make them stronger. The faulty sets got recalled and taken out of circulation. It's kinda cool though. Because of all this drama, the set's become a hot item for collectors. Back in 2009, Lego had to do a quick recall on its Power Functions IR Speed remote because it had this big problem where it would get way too hot. Even though nobody got hurt, it was still a pretty serious safety issue, but Lego did not mess around. They pulled the remotes off the shelves fast. About a month later, they brought them back, all fixed up and safe to use. You can still snag one of these remotes on Lego's website, showing that they take safety seriously and want to make sure their products are top-notch. Now, there was this Lego Technic Porsche 911 GT3 RS set that came out for a hefty $300. But the crazy thing is, the gears were all out of order. Instead of the usual 1, 2, 3, 4 sequence, they went 1, 3, 2, 4. Imagine the confusion for all the car buffs and Lego lovers who wanted that authentic gear action. But hold up, Lego had an explanation. They claimed they did it on purpose to make the model run smoother. Apparently, if they stuck to the correct gear sequence, too many gears would be engaged at once, messing with how well the model worked. Of course, don't worry, they didn't leave gearheads hanging. Lego provided instructions to tweak the gear sequence for those who wanted their Porsche to operate just like the real deal, even if it meant sacrificing a bit of that smooth ride. Moving on, we've got the 2015 Lego Star Wars Advent Calendar, which hit a little snag with its packaging. It claimed to have this exclusive Darth Vader minifigure, but here's the twist. That figure was actually from the 2014 calendar. Lego had to do some quick thinking to fix this blunder, especially in Europe, where the release got held up. They ended up sending out stickers to stores to cover up the wrong info on the packaging. Can't have people thinking that they're getting something that they're not, right? The whole mix-up just goes to show how important it is to get the packaging details right. Now, back in 2006, Lego rolled out the NXT Intelligent Brick, which was pretty cool. But by 2011, some problems started popping up with the displays. For example, they'd flicker or just stop working in sets like 8527, 9797, and 9841. Of course, Lego did not just sit around twiddling their thumbs. They got their ambassador group on it, spreading the word to users and telling them to hit them up for replacements. It wasn't a huge disaster or anything, but having wonky displays definitely put a damper on the fun. Props to Lego for stepping up and making things right for their customers. Alright, so in 2016, Lego dropped the Ghostbusters Ecto 1 and 2 set, which was pretty hyped. Now, there are 3 different versions of the figure Holtzman that were featured in the promo pics. There was one without glasses, one with goggles, and one with glasses. However, when fans got their hands on the actual set, they only got 2 of those versions. The one with glasses but no vest was nowhere to be found. Talk about a letdown. To make matters worse, Lego did not announce any more Ghostbuster sets after that, which left fans scratching their heads about this weird mix-up. Now, if you're already a huge Lego fan back in 2010, I'm sure you know that Lego dropped their big-time Technic set, the motorized excavator. But guess what? It received some criticism right off the bat for its weak digging arm. People were bummed because the arm just could not handle the heavy lifting. Turns out, the linear actuator could not handle the strain, especially with all those gear wheels in the mix. So after just 2 weeks on the shelves in August 2010, Lego pulled it back to the drawing board. When it came back in October though, it was like a whole new machine. They beefed up the arm with extra actuators and a few extra pieces, making it way stronger. And you know what? It worked like a charm. Technic fans were all over it, loving the upgrade. Technic Bricks even did a detailed breakdown comparing the old and new parts to show off the improvement. Diving into the Lego White House set from the architecture line, we come across a major goof to the instruction manual. If your knowledge of the White House might not be top-notch, let's just say that there's an East Wing and a West Wing. As you're cruising through the build and moving to the West Wing section in the manual, there's something quite off. The instructions had the West and East Wings all mixed up. Page 84 should have been the East Wing, but it had West Wing info. Talk about confusing. Many fans online had noticed this as well. Apparently, LEGO had fixed it for online instructions and future sets, but if you were one of those who got them upon release, you got the short end of the stick. Although this doesn't ruin the build, it's definitely puzzling. I mean, how did something like this slip through quality control? This is why it's super important to double check things before hitting print. Despite the mix-up though, the set itself is still pretty cool. So back in 2015, LEGO hit a huge blunder when they had to pull back 129,000 sets because of a mess up with gray colors. Instead of the dark gray bits they were supposed to have, they ended up with light gray ones. Turns out, someone in their bill on factory slapped the wrong color label on a tube. This mistake alone cost them around $1 million, but luckily, they caught it before the sets hit the shelves. Still, they had to hustle, calling in people from the Czech Republic and Hungary to sort things out. To avoid future oopsies, they dropped around $58,000 on changing up the factory lighting and letting workers pre-print color labels. Despite the setback, LEGO's overall revenue in 2016 was sky high, nearly hitting $5 billion. Oh, and the person behind the mix-up? They didn't catch any consequences for it. Inside a LEGO Club magazine from January to February 2013, there's an ad featuring LEGO sets inspired by The Hobbit and Unexpected Journey. Now, let's say your favorite character is Bomber. Try to match the name with a corresponding LEGO figure, but wait, something seems off. According to the LEGO ad, Bomber had been mislabeled as Bofer. It's a small but glaring error that leaves you scratching your head. And guess what? The mistakes don't end there. Although a bit disappointing to discover such errors in a beloved brand like LEGO, it's also a reminder that even the most reputable companies can slip up from time to time. How many mistakes can you spot in this picture? Now, in the LEGO creator Harley Fatboy set, there's this sticker that's supposed to say Milwaukee 8, but guess what? Yup, another spelling mistake. Instead of Milwaukee, it's spelled as Milwalk, completely forgetting the other E. Pretty minor mistake, but it definitely takes away from the set's packaging vibe. So you've got this R2-D2 LEGO figure, right? It looks fine when you first check it out, but if you really take a look, you'll notice something off. The colors on different parts aren't quite lining up like they should. It's a small detail, but it definitely messes with the figure's overall look. But it's not just about the aesthetics, because this printing goof actually affects how much collectors are willing to pay for it. Now, this classic yellow space minifigure doesn't seem quite right. The torso's print is leaning to one side instead of sitting straight like it should. It's not a huge deal, but it definitely throws off the balance and symmetry of the minifigure. Despite that, collectors are all over it, selling at a whopping $1,200 and even higher. Now check out this Stormtrooper head. Yeah, it's got a little issue. The eyes are all wrong. It is totally different from the usual design. It's definitely noticeable, and it kinda messes with the whole look of the character. And guess what? The selling price of this Stormtrooper misprint is $75. Believe it or not, there's this Tusken Raider LEGO minifigure that's causing quite a stir in the collector's world. What's the big deal? Well, this particular one has a face print that's slightly lower than it should be. It's a subtle misprint, but it's got collectors going wild. So wild, in fact, that this little guy is selling for a jaw-dropping $5,000. Now, that's a pretty penny for a tiny plastic figure. But hey, when you're a die-hard LEGO fan, you will pay top dollar for those rare gems. Now, speaking of pricey minifigures, there's this SpiderGwen minifigure here. It looks pretty normal, except for one little detail. Her torso is printed on the wrong color body. Instead of the usual white body, it's sitting on an orange one. Now, you might think, what's the big deal? Well, this seemingly small error has turned this SpiderGwen into a hot commodity among collectors. In fact, it's currently on the market for a mind-blowing $10,000. That's correct. 5 figures for just a tiny plastic figure. So let's talk about the LEGO Harry Potter Hogwarts Castle set 71043. Now, this set is a real gem for any Harry Potter fan, but unfortunately, some customers have encountered a bit of a hiccup upon cracking open the box. Missing pieces. Yep, you heard that right. Despite LEGO's usually top-notch quality control, a few folks have found themselves with incomplete sets due to errors in packaging. Now, don't worry too much. It's not a widespread issue, but it's definitely a bummer for those who've experienced it. Luckily, LEGO's customer service is known for being pretty stellar, so if you find yourself in this situation, they should be able to help you out and get those missing pieces sorted. Now, this C-3PO minifigure with a red leg is a fun example of a LEGO misprint, adding an unexpected twist to the iconic Star Wars character. Normally C-3PO is completely gold, so the red leg here really stands out. This misprint shows C-3PO with one red leg instead of his usual gold one, making it a noticeable and rare mistake that collectors find intriguing and potentially valuable. Interestingly, this misprint reminds fans of C-3PO's red arm in The Force Awakens, even though it's his leg that is red here. Collectors love misprints because they're rare and unique. A C-3PO with a red leg could be a valuable addition to a LEGO collection. Depending on interest and condition, this misprint could sell for a good amount. The two-faced head misprint is a rare and interesting LEGO mistake, where a minifigure head gets printed twice, resulting in two side-by-side faces. This happens due to a glitch in the printing machine, causing the head to be stamped again while the ink from the first stamp is still wet. A misprint like this can sell for up to $250. Even though it's a mistake, the two-faced head has a quirky charm. The mix of facial features can make it look like a piece of abstract art, appealing to both LEGO fans and art lovers. So this brown arch brick with a hole-in-one stud and an incomplete front is a cool example of a LEGO manufacturing mistake. This kind of error, known as a short shot, happens when there's not enough plastic injected into the mold, leaving parts of the piece incomplete. This can be due to a blockage, low plastic levels, or incorrect settings on the machine. Sometimes, debris in the mold can also cause these issues. The Tasmanian Devil minifigure with eye placement issues is a humorous example of a LEGO misprint, where the eyes of the character are printed in the wrong position, resulting in a comical expression. Instead of being properly aligned, the eyes appear low and skewed to one side. Despite being a mistake, the misaligned eyes give the Tasmanian Devil minifigure a unique and endearing quality, making it a desirable addition to collectors who appreciate unusual LEGO finds. And last on the list, we've got the Spider-Man Final Battle Set's instruction booklet, which was a bit of a mess. It was printed sideways and stapled on the wrong side, making it a headache to follow. It's like trying to build with the manual flipped on its side and all jumbled up. While wonky instructions aren't as exciting as misprinted pieces, they're still cool finds for collectors. Dealing with them makes you rely more on your own skills, turning building into a bit of a puzzle. Despite the potential frustration, it's pretty satisfying to conquer the challenge and finish the set anyway. Which LEGO mistake did you find interesting? Leave a comment below and let us know what other LEGO mistakes you may have encountered. Thanks for watching.